Welcome to the Benelli M4 modifications part 3 video. Now, just in case you've stumbled upon this video because you saw the 922R in the title, I am going to be modifying this firearm to become 922R compliant. Now, the modifications I'm going to be doing involves the trigger group, and specifically the trigger, the hammer, and the disconnector. Now, what I'm going to be doing, you could use these parts in other guns too, not just this Benelli M4. You could use it in the Benelli M1, 2, 3, and 4, Super Black Eagle 1, 2, 3, and some other firearms, which I'll list in the description. But, and if you want to have a detailed explanation of what 922R compliance is, or the law, what it is specifically, in the description I'll put a link to better explanation on the Freedom Fighter Tactical page. Now, general overview. If you import this has to do with imported firearms specifically, and if you want to, for example, modify the gun, in this case, I wanted a full magazine tube, which I do have. You can have no more than 10 foreign-made parts on the firearm. Now, the ATF designates what specific parts count towards that maximum. As of now, because I did the upgrade, I have 13 parts that are foreign-made that the ATF says I can change out for USA parts to make it compliant. And I'm going to be changing out, like I said, the trigger, the hammer, and the disconnector for USA parts, which are these. And then at the end of this video, I will have 10 foreign-made parts in total on the gun, and I will be compliant. Now, the Freedom Fighter Tactical upgrade is $270. It's kind of pricey, not going to lie. It comes with relevant springs, and there are other tools that you may need, but I'm just going to be doing it with a pick and a punch just to knock out a pin. But you could probably use the top of a bullet if you want to, or a small screwdriver, either way. But let's get started. Alright, so I just want to say that I do recommend wearing safety glasses because there are some springs in the trigger housing which can fly out and you don't want to damage yourself. But safety first. So first off, I'm going to make sure the gun is empty. It's empty. Nothing here. I checked before, but that. So now I'm just going to take a punch or something small to knock out this screw. Just pushed it through. So that comes out. So now you're just going to slide this out. So now you don't need the gun. You could just put that to the side. So first, to start off, you have the trigger group, and you looking at it from the left side, you want to remove this piece right here. Now I do apologize. I forgot that for this specific firearm, you do need one of these. They range from anywhere from $10 to $20. They're ring pliers. And some firearms, you have a clip over here, and you could just use a pick to go under and take it off. Whereas this firearm specifically, you need one of these to push this piece apart and to lift that clip off. All right, so you're going to take the pliers and you're just going to put it inside here and split it apart enough. Might have to push down so it doesn't slip. I'm going to do this a few times. I already worked it enough. And then it should be able to either slide off or you could just peel it right off. Just going to put that off to the side. And then next up, you're going to have this knife. That's the only time we need that tool for. So now you're going to have this spring and you have a washer in here. You're going to put your finger on this this washer right here running across. And just going to pull down on this spring. A little oily. There we go. Now you're just going to pull it out. Got these two pieces. I'm just going to set that to the side. And then have the washer right here. Can set that off to the side as well. All right. Okay, so now we're going to be taking off the lifter. Now to do that, you're going to need to depress the hammer. So keep your thumb on the hammer, take it off safe, and then you're going to press the trigger or pull the trigger. You're going to slowly let it go. That's going to release some tension. Now, if you can see, there's this plunger-like object. It's a cylinder. I don't know how well you can see it with the light, but there is a spring pushing up against here. And so you want to, this thing right here. So when the next step, you're going to keep your thumb on top while we do this. So you're going to keep your thumb on top there while pushing this pin from the left side to the right side. So it's going this way, and the trigger is here. So just going to push that out. And just something to push this through. And then you could pull it out. Put that to the side. Now, I felt the tension release, but it's still a little bit of tension on there. So there we go. Now there's no more tension. So this piece, like I said, that with the spring, you can just put that to the side. The hammer comes right off. The lifter, take it off at an angle like this, and it slides right off. It's the easiest way to do it. If this piece comes off, all you have to do is hold in the correct orientation, push the pin in, and you're good to go. But we don't need to take it down further because it's just not necessary for what we're doing. After that, you have the shell release. So there's a spring going along here, and you just want to pull up at an angle. That's the spring holding on, like that. And it comes right off. So we're going to take that off. Okay. Next up, we are going to push this pin through, which is going to remove the trigger and also allow us to take off the spring. So to do that, you're going to put one finger on the spring so it doesn't just fly off. And you're going to take something else just to push it through just enough. Just enough where you could pull it through on this side. And then when you pull this pin out, that gets flung up. I'm going to put that to the side. The spring, I'm just going to take this off 1 sec. The spring gets held in this, gets put in this orientation. So you have the loop facing up and the curve pointing down. But I'll show you that again when we put it back, but just so you know. That goes to the side. Now this piece, we're done. We don't need to do anything else with it. If you want to, this pin right here is just a pin that rotates, that the trigger rotates, goes on right here, so it doesn't go in a circle when you're using it. And for the safety, I have my video in my part 1, which I'll put in the link if you want to see how to replace that, but it just largely involves putting your finger here so that the spring doesn't pop up, pushing out a pin, and then being able to replace that, generally speaking, but more in depth in the video. Regardless, put that to the side. So you have the trigger. You've got the spring that goes under it, and then you have the trigger, the disconnector, and I believe that's called a plunger if I'm not mistaken, and the shear, if I could be wrong again. Not the best of the terms. So to take this apart further, we're going to push this pin in. It's very small, so be careful. You don't want to lose that. You're going to release the pressure a little bit, or add some pressure, I guess you could say. Use something to push that out just a little bit. And then should be able to grab it. See, it's sticking out. I grabbed it, and that's the very small piece. That's not garbage. Just be careful. You don't want to lose that. And then there's still pressure on here with this plunger, so just be careful. Okay, so then that, you could just pull disconnector off, put it on the side. You have this plunger piece item. I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to be pulling out the spring that's inside here, just like that. Here's a spring off to the side, and that's the trigger. That's it. So now that we've done everything we need to, just if you could see that we have one spring here, one spring here, one there, and one there. And those are all 4 springs we're going to replace. Those we're just going to replace because it came with the kit, but we don't have to do it. The things we're really interested in are the trigger, the hammer, the trigger, and the disconnector. Those are the things that we're going to replace the US-made parts. And now we're going to start. So as you can see, I have the parts we're going to switch out. And just to make this as easy as possible without trying to be, oh, is this for the hammer or is that for the trigger? Forget about that. Just hold the springs next to the old ones just to see if they look the same size. Easiest way to go about it. And we're going to be replacing everything with these 3 pieces, the US parts. Now it doesn't have to be stamped US, but they have stamped it just so it's very obvious. So we're not going to be needing this spring. Not going to be needing this spring, or this one, or this one. Now we could replace the gun with the parts we have. Oh, and of course, hammer, disconnector, and trigger. Now we're ready. And we could just put those parts off to the side. All right, so now we're going to be assembling it back together, starting with the trigger. Now the trigger, you're going to take this plunger-looking object, put the relevant spring inside this hole. Just slides right in. Good place to oil if you'd like. Again, if you'd like, probably should. Probably do it some other time. But this is the correct orientation for the disconnector. And with that, you're just gonna let it get seated inside there. Let's see. Now it's a little harder just because the new spring's a bit tougher than the old one. There we go, it's seated inside. Now, something I didn't notice was that the newer trigger groups are, let's just say, a little bit more, they're tighter. And so this pin has a hard time going in this hole. So you might need something hard to hit it in. Now I'm gonna hold it up against the surface because I'm gonna have to hammer that in. Usually shouldn't be this difficult, but nothing ever is on video in real life. Okay, gonna let that, and then you can use pliers also. But for some reason it just doesn't want to go in. Not easily, at least. Again, I have no idea why that was that tough, but yeah, it's in there. Yep. And then just to make sure, oh yeah, it's tough, all right. Pull it back. That's good. So next up, we're just going to put this spring inside here. And so this piece, this gap right here, lines up with this pin right here. So if my finger is the pin and then these 2 fingers are that part, it goes up, that's how it rotates. So that's just to get an idea of how it works. So I'm just going to hold it upside down. I'm going to slide it on. Just like that. Now once the holes are lined up, just going to slide this through. It's like none of these pins want to go through. It's not annoying at all. There we go. Okay, I put that in a little too far, just gonna pop out just enough. Okay, just so you have it that much. Now we're gonna put the spring back in. Now this spring goes in this orientation. And it's just gonna get seated right inside here. The loop is facing up, and this pointed part is facing downwards. It's just gonna get seated inside there. Gonna pop the pin through the rest. Good. And best to have this spring hanging off the side, not stuck up here. It's just easier for this next part. So for the next part, I'm just gonna assemble this real quick now, just in case this did happen to fall off. It goes in this orientation, and it's just gonna slide through here, and you're just gonna take that pin and just push it through. Again, the gloves are getting stuck on it, just like that. That's all you need. Now, leave the trigger, and also just make sure that when you press the trigger, you could feel the spring pushing it back to its spot. So next up, we're going to take the show release and gonna have this clip part or the hook grab onto this and pull it up at an angle, and then it just sits in there. It should sit in there by itself. Next up, we are going to put this on. Lifter. Now it's best to put it, you could try to force it like this, it's gonna be a pain, so best to put it at an angle and just have it slide into place. And then I am going to push this pin through just enough so it stops at this point right here. I need to fit the trigger back in. So trigger, I'm sorry, the hammer. Ooh, that's tough. It's just not sliding in. Interesting. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Okay, just gonna push that through just a little bit till it sits. Okay, well it's in, so that's good. That's just gonna rotate freely. Definitely gonna oil that up in a second. Next up, we're just gonna be putting the spring with that cap down here. I want to pull that back a little bit, and then this might be slightly annoying. Just want to just push that down. There we go. And then you're going to push the trigger, press the hammer down, let that lock, and then you could push that through the other side, just like that. Now we push this pin through, and you can see that it is indented both on here and over here. That's to allow the piece I'm going to show you to grab on there. So that's good. All right, so last up, we're just going to be finishing this off. We're going to be putting this piece right here, going to be putting that on here. And there are grooves on this circular piece on each side that are flat, so this stays in better than if it was just round the entire way. And then we're going to be putting on this spring. So to start, just going to lay that on there. Just going to like push it on until it clicks into place. And then I'm just going to tighten it just a little bit. Okay. Good. That's on there. So now we're going to take this washer. I'm going to put it in this little crevice right here. Washer's right here. Take the spring, and this part goes into here. And there's a little notch right in the bottom here for this to stick into. And it's a bit difficult with gloves on, I'll admit. So we're just going to slide that in here, trying to slide it back. Just trying to get the rod back to slide into place. There we go. Okay, slide it in. Good. All right, so that's good. Safety. Okay, gonna check it. Good. And for the past hour, I've been trying to play with this because something wasn't working right, and that the hammer would get stuck. It would just stay down here because actually I could probably show you with this. The hammer would get stuck on like that, just enough where it hangs off. So I had to shave off this end part so it wouldn't get stuck like that, so it could pass freely. I don't know why it did that, but it happened. So if your hammer is staying down here and it's not getting released when you press the trigger, that's what you could do. Now to put this back in, the hammer does have to be down as it is, or in the cocked position. So what we're going to do is slide this back here. Just slide it in, and it's not going to go in because you have to press that. Then should click into place for the most part, and then the pin, you could just wiggle this part back and forth until the pin goes in properly. Has to be seated all the way back, just so you know. All right, so pin is in, and just gonna try it. Let's see, trigger. It's good, good, good. We're good. So that's it. I do apologize for the length of the video. I really did mean for it to be about 10 minutes long, but it did not turn out that way. I just wanted to give a somewhat decent explanation of everything, and hopefully it didn't drag. If there's any suggestions you could make to the video, or any comments you want to say, or something I did wrong you want to point out, by all means, please let me know. And if you have any questions, please put in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them pretty quickly. And definitely check the description for actual information that will help you, and links that will give you more in-depth view, especially if you want to know more about the 922R. But again, I replaced 3 of the specific parts made that the ATF designates as that you can use to that count towards the 922R. So if you had 14 parts that were foreign and you replaced these 3, now you have 11. You still have to do 1 more, and the choices you have for replacing, I'll put in the description so you know what they are. But thank you for watching.